think my eyes are ungoogled a little bit. We'll find out real shortly. Let us proceed with alacrity, shall we? Finding my place like a psychopath or something. They made 60 miles, which is a 50-mile run on the first day, and the second day saw them booming up the Yukon, well on their way to Pelly. But such splendid running was achieved not without great trouble and vexation on the part of Franco. The insidious revolt led by Buck had destroyed the solidarity of the team. It no longer was as one dog leaping in the traces. The encouragement Buck gave the rebels led them into all kinds of petty misdemeanors. No more was Spitz, a leader greatly to be feared. The old awe departed, and they grew equal to challenging his authority. Pike robbed him of half of a fish one night and gulped it down under the protection of Buck. Another night, Dub and Joe fought Spitz and made him forego the punishment they deserved. And even Billy, the good-natured, was less good-natured, and whined not half so placatingly as in former days. But Buck never came near Spitz without snarling and bristling menacingly. Oh, Buck's become a fucking troublemaker. In fact, his conduct approached that of a bully, and he was given to a swaggering up and down before Spitz's very nose. The breaking down of discipline likewise affected the dogs in their relationship with one another. They quarreled and bickered more than ever among themselves, till at times the camp was a howling bedlam. Dave and Solix alone were unaltered, though they were made irritable by the unending squabbling. Franco swore strange barbarous oaths and stamped the snow in futile rage and tore his hair. His lash was always singing among the dogs, but it was of small avail. Directly his back was turned, and they were at it again. He backed up Spitz with his whip, while Buck backed up the remainder of the team. Franco knew he was behind all the trouble, and Buck knew he knew. But Buck was too clever ever again to be caught red-handed. He worked faithfully in the harness, for the toil had become a delight to him, yet it was a greater delight slyly to precipitate a fight amongst his mates and tangle the traces. At the mouth of the Tahkeena, one night after supper, Dub turned up a snowshoe rabbit, blundered it, and missed. In a second, the whole team was in full cry. 100 yards away was a camp of the Northwest Police with 50 dogs, huskies all, who joined the chase. The rabbit sped down the river, turned off into a small creek, up the frozen bed of which it had held steadily. It ran lightly on the surface of the snow while the dogs plowed through by the main strength. Buck led the pack 60 strong around the bend, after the bend, but he could not gain. He lay down low to the race, whining eagerly, his splendid body flashing forward, leap by leap, in the wan white moonlight, and leap by leap, like some pale frost wraith, the snowshoe rabbit flashed on ahead. All that stirring of old instincts which at stated periods drives men out from surrounding cities to forest and plain, to kill things by chemically propelled leaden pellets. The bloodlust, the joy to kill, all this was Buck's, only it was infinitely more intimate. He was ranging at the head of the pack, running the wild thing down, the living meat, to kill with his own teeth and wash his muzzle to the eyes in warm blood. There is an ecstasy that marks the summit of life, and beyond which life cannot rise. And such is a paradox of living. This ecstasy comes when one is most alive, and it comes as a complete forgetfulness that one is alive. This ecstasy, this forgetfulness of living, comes to the artist, caught up and out of himself in a sheet of flame. It comes to the soldier, war-mad on a stricken field, and refusing quarter. And it came to Buck, leading the pack, sounding the old wolf cry, straining after the food that was alive and that fled swiftly before him through the moonlight. He was sounding the deeps of his nature and of the parts of his nature that were deeper than he, going back into the womb of time. He was mastered by the sheer surging of life, the tidal wave of being, the perfect joy of each separate muscle, joint, and sinew, and that it was everything that was not death, that it was a glow and rampant, expressing itself in movement, flying exultantly. I'm not going to get this word. Exultantly. Okay. You got me this time, English. Under the stars and over the face of dead matter that did not move. But Spitz, cold and calculating, even in his supreme moods, left the pack and cut across the narrow neck of land where the creek made a long bend around. Buck did not know this, and as he rounded the bend, the frost wraith of a rabbit still flittering before him, he saw another and a larger frost wraith leap from the overhanging bank into the immediate path of the rabbit. It was Spitz. The rabbit could not turn, and as the white teeth broke its back in mid-air, it shrieked as loudly as a stricken man may shriek. At sound of this, the cry of life plunging down from life's apex in the grip of death, the full pack at Buck's heels raised a hell's chorus of delight. Buck did not cry out. He did not check himself, but drove in upon Spitz, shoulder to shoulder, so hard that he missed the throat. They rolled over and over in the powdery snow. Spitz gained his feet almost as though he had not been overthrown, slashing Buck down the shoulder and leaping clear. Twice his teeth clipped together like the steel jaws of a trap as he backed away for better footing, with lean and lifting lips that writhed and snarled. In a flash, Buck knew it. The time had come. It was to the death. As they circled about, snarling, ears laid back, keenly watchful for the advantage, the scene came to Buck with a sense of familiarity. He seemed to remember it all. The white woods, and earth, and moonlight, and the thrill of battle. Over whiteness, silence brooded a ghostly calm. There was not the faintest whisper of air. Nothing moved. Not a leaf quivered. The visible breaths of dogs rising slowly and lingering in the frosty air. They had made short work of the snowshoe rabbit, these dogs that were ill-tamed wolves, and they were now drawn up in an expectant circle. They too were silent. their eyes only gleaming and their breaths drifting slowly upward. To Buck it was nothing new or strange, this scene of old time. It was as though it had always been the wonted way of things. Spitz, a practice fighter from Spitsbergen, through the Arctic and across Canada and the Barrens. He had held his own with all manner of dogs and achieved mastery over them. Bitter rage was his, but never blind rage. In passion to rend and destroy, he never forgot that his enemy was in like passion to rend and destroy. He never rushed till he was prepared to receive a rush. Never attacked till he had first defended that attack. In vain Buck strove to sink his teeth in the neck of the big white dog, wherever his fangs struck for the softer flesh. They were countered by the fangs of Spitz. Fang clashed fang, and lips were cut, bleeding, but Buck could not penetrate his enemy's guard. Then he warmed up and enveloped Spitz in a whirlwind of rushes. Time and time again he tried for the snow-white throat, where the life bubbled near to the surface, and each time and every time Spitz slashed him and got away. Then Buck took to rushing, as though for the throat, when he suddenly, drawing back his head and curving in from the side, he would drive his shoulder at the shoulder of Spitz as a ram by which to overthrow him. But instead, Buck's shoulder was slashed down each time as Spitz leaped lightly away. Spitz was untouched, while Buck was streaming with blood, panting hard. The fight was growing desperate, and all the while the silent and wolfish circle waited to finish off whichever dog went down. As Buck grew winded, Spitz took to rushing, and he kept staggering for footing. Once Buck went over, and the whole circle of 60 dogs started up. But he recovered himself almost in mid-air, and the circle sank down again, sank down again, and waited. But Buck possessed a quality that made for greatness: imagination. He fought by instinct, but he could fight by head as well. He rushed as though attempting the old shoulder trick, but at the last instant swept low to the snow and in. His teeth closed on Spitz's left foreleg. There was a crunch of breaking of bones, and the white dog faced him on 3 legs. Thrice he tried to knock him over, then repeated the trick and broke the right foreleg. Despite the pain and helplessness, Spitz struggled madly to keep up. He saw the silent circle with gleaming eyes, lolling tongues, and silvery breaths drifting upwards, closing in upon him, as he had seen similar circles close in upon beaten antagonists in the past. Only this time he was the one who was beaten. There was no hope for him. Buck was inexorable. There was no hope for him. Buck was inexorable. There we go. Mercy was a thing reserved for gentler climes. He maneuvered for the final rush. The circle had tightened till he could feel the breaths of the huskies on his flanks. He could see them beyond Spitz and to either side, half crouching for the spring, their eyes fixed upon him. A pause seemed to fall. Every animal was motionless, as though turned to stone. Only Spitz quivered and bristled as he staggered back and forth, snarling with horrible menace. as though to frighten off impending death. Then Buck sprang in and out, but while he was in, wait, then Buck sprang in and out, but while he was in, shoulder had at last squarely met shoulder. The dark circle became a dot on the view. Buck stood and looked on. The successful moon flooded snow as Spitz disappeared from Champion, the dominant primordial beast who had made his kill and found it good. Okay. Now you're a murderer, Buck. We get it. He had it coming. But now he is, he's gone full Monty, and he is a murderer. He murdered the boss. But, to be fair, Spitz murdered his friend Curly first, so... Is it justified? Probably. We're going to say probably. We're not going to give out any definites. Fuck it. Go, Buck! What we up to? Chapter 4 is next? Alright. We'll be right back.